Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Leilu Nishmas, even Moshe Mordechai. Live in Chicago, live in Eretz Yisrael, Sunday morning there in the Beis Medrash. Hi guys. First of all, we have to announce we're just a few days away from Ksubas. Ksubas, I think the new number is 440 new people joining this year. It's great, but everybody should look at themselves and say, hey, did I bring one more guy to Torah? Did I encourage somebody this Shabbos to come join the shir? If the answer is yes, then do it again. If the answer is no, what's wrong with you? Spotted. What is this? Ephraim Hud. It's like finding a sticker in a sticker stack. It's there somewhere, the 8-minute daf, all the way on the right, the license plate. Right corner. Okay. Moshe Mizrahi. Hi Rebelli, my name is Moshe Mizrahi. I've joined MDY since Megillah, and I have to say that daf has changed my life. I was at a friend's wedding in Baltimore, and wife Felder was schmoozing with me about the upcoming siyum and deal. And he asked me, did you meet Zarach Spiro? So I said, no, who's that? And he said, he's one of the main guys in MDY. Let me introduce you to him. Went over and introduced myself. Zarach says, we're mishpacha. It was right then that I felt for the first time that I was part of the MDY family. Thank you, Rebelli, for everything you do for the klal. You should be blessed. Yishkoyach. This is for Morty Ness. I wish you a safe and healthy trip. I just want to tell you a funny story. I signed up for the online Ulpan given over Zoom to improve my Hebrew. It's a small class with people from all over the map. In the middle of the class, a younger classmate private messaged me asking me, do you do daf? You see, this younger guy is trying to get other people. He listens. I answered yes. And you? He replied, I listened to it. Eli? Yeah. Turns out he's been doing the daf with MDY since Beitza. If possible, I'd like you to make a small shout out to Spencer Garfield doing the daf all the way from North Carolina. Unbelievable. Morty Ness, North Carolina. Guys are doing the daf in North Carolina. Akiva Ziegler says, my adventures yesterday show what MDY family is all about. At about 2 p.m., a post went out in local chat by Tzvi Kupperman looking for a ride for his son from camp to Brooklyn for his daughter's Shabbos Sheva brachos. I was in Catskills for the day, so I gladly offered to bring Avrumi into the city. When we pulled into camp, my wife noticed that he and I knew each other. When I told her Avrumi is also part of the MDY, she was impressed. In the car, we discussed the camp hookups, which, by the way, didn't happen yet. In other words, they don't have that screen that we were talking about. So I offered Avrumi the chance to catch up. See attached photo of how he took advantage after a brief stop. I don't know if that's the photo. Kitsi was in Baltimore. He went from Brooklyn to Baltimore for bris. You travel, you stay by family, he says, Akiva. You stay by family. The grandmother of the baby arranged for me to stay by Chacham Nachum Horowitz's house. I'll let Nachum describe his reaction. It's geschmack to be part of the MDY family, Akiva. But Kitzer, you went to Baltimore, you stayed by Nachum Horowitz. Here's I'm talking about Baltimore. Here's their poster that they put up. Very cool, actually. It's the lion, the wheel, it's Akiva and his father learning this kutachiness and all sorts of jokes and funny stuff. It's very cool with official humor. All right, here we go, Rabbi Sai. Today's sponsors and the sponsors for the koil. The Paras HaChodesh for the koil, Leilu Nishmas Zechariah Ben Moshe. Paras HaChodesh number 1 by the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood, New Jersey, because Torah is the best segula. Paras HaChodesh number 2, Refuah Shilayma for Yוכbed, Aviya, Bashifra Chaya. And Paras HaChodesh number 3, the MDY family, Leilu Nishmas, Shimshon Weiss, Shimon Ben Meshulam Dov, Zuchron Levracha. Paras HaChodesh number 4, as a zechus for our children to be kadosh, safe, healthy, and happy, and know Hashem loves them. Today's sponsor, Dal Tmuz, the 3rd Yartzeigt of Hirsh Lewitan. Rabbi Tzvi Medetsky Dov by his family, and by Moshe Sorscher, in blessed memory of my dear brother Josh Xayim Ben Soraya Shalom Sorscher. All right, here we go. Brand new Mishnah. Tail end of Yevamos. Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. The official Mishnah is sponsored Leilu Nishmas from Meir Yechiel Ben Rabbi Avram Zochron L'Roch. You have two women married to the same guy. Shkoyach Rabbi said, by the way, Reb Zalman, I missed you. Where's Simi Mandelbaum? Anybody know? Give him a call. We need him here ASAP. Shkoyach for coming out. I know it's late. It's already 11:25. Motzi Shabbos. The Olam is tired, but it's Kedai. It's Kedai. Gishmaka. Gary Ben Moshe is calling. Oh, this is important. Yeah, hello? The Mivo? Okay, do me a favor. He wants the Mivo to go down, so I'll tell you what to do. Unscrew that big screw. No, not that. Lower on the orange part. On the orange. Yeah, there's a big. No. There's a big screw. Look at. Yeah. Okay, you do it. Hold the cameras right, and then lower. Excellent. Yeah. That's what they're talking about. Good. Perfect. That should be good. Hello? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So we're starting the Mishnah. Thanks. By the way, everybody, my stepbrother, Ari. He's made it. Yeah. It's a big chizuk for me that he's here. Yishkoyach, he does the daf every day. His son came over to me today. He goes, I think you're my uncle. I said, I don't think so. Who are you? He goes, no, I think you're my father's stepbrother. I said, Shalom Aleichem. Then I'm your step uncle. Yeah. And I said, no, but now that I had him one-on-one, I said, does your father do daf? He goes, every day. He does it with you every day. So no, you're not lying. Shkoyach Ari. Says the Mishnah, Achos Ameres Meis. You have two wives, co-wives, married to the same guy. An incredible thing is going to happen here. We're going to have a contradiction, halachic contradiction, a factual contradiction between the two women. One says, our husband is dead. Therefore, I could go get married. You could get married. Another one says, no, he's not dead. So I can't get married. You can't get married. Not only could the one that says that her husband is dead, she could get married and also take advantage of the ksuba. It's like a contradiction in fact. What happened? Is he dead or alive? If he's dead, so he should be dead for everybody. So both wives should get married. But the second wife can't get married because she admits that he's alive. She herself is saying, I'm usher to get married. She made an isser for herself. Even more interesting, at least to me. They both admit that he's dead. The question is, did he get shot in the head or did he die from Yena Machla? But they admit that he's dead. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir Omer Hoyel Umakhisha Zu Ezu Harei Elu Lo Yinasu. They're contradicting each other how he died. Therefore, neither of them can get married. So now let's go backwards a second. Let's go back. There's a contradiction here. What's Rabbi Meir going to say? When they contradict each other just on how he died, was it with a bullet? Was it with a disease? Then none of them can get married. And when one of them contradicts the other and says he's not even dead, shouldn't Rabbi Meir say it's a bigger problem? The Gemara says, yeah, you're right. He does say that. He argues on that case as well. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Oimrim, Hoyel v'zu moidos shein kayom. In the second case, where both say he's dead, the question is how he died, but they agree to the outcome that he's not alive anymore, and therefore we could both get married. Yinasu, they could get married. Okay, next case. Eidoimer meis, veidoimer loy meis. You have a contradiction between a single witness. One says he's dead, one says he's alive. Therefore, according to one, the wife can get married. According to the other one, you can't get married. Isha imeres meis, visha imeres loy meis. Contradiction between women. One woman says he's alive, one woman says he's dead. Harei zuloy kinase. before they have an opportunity, before the Eid Echad. This we discussed the other day. If an Eid Echad comes to Bezdin and he says, so-and-so is dead, we trust him. We trust him like two Eidim. End the story. Comes another Eid 5 days later, too late. Obviously, we're talking about they're coming together. They're walking into Bezdin together, so they contradict each other, so now we can't listen to either one of them. But if one of them already said the testimony that he's dead, then he's dead. I don't care that the other Eid comes later on. Says the Mishnah, says the Gemara, Taime the Amra loimes. The first case in the Mishnah, there's a contradiction. One woman says he's alive, one woman says he's dead. Okay. The reason why the second woman who says my husband is alive, the reason why she can't get married is because she admits that he's alive. What if she was quiet? She didn't say anything. Now here's the problem. Can we trust a woman when it comes to somebody else? We trust her when it comes to herself. We don't want her to remain an aguna. But do we take her testimony so seriously that it would allow another woman to get married based on the testimony? Yes or no? Okay. Says the Gemara. We have a problem. How can one co-wife testify for the other? That's impossible. Says the Gemara, the chiddush over here is that when she says, you're right, forget if she's quiet. No, if she's quiet, we don't trust. We don't trust the other one. So then why are you saying, so the chiddush over here is, even when the woman, listen to this is going to be incredible. When the woman says, the second woman says, our husband didn't die. You're lying. You say he died. He didn't die. I would think that we should trust her that he's dead. Why? Because if she was just quiet, then there could be real trouble here for her co-wife. If she wants to get her co-wife in trouble, she should just be quiet and wait until the guy shows up. If she knows, what does she know? Think about it. It's like one of these riddles. What does she know? If she knows that he's alive, so why would she come and testify that he's alive? Let her trip up by herself. Be quiet. Let her get married. 2 days later, the husband shows up. That's it. Her co-wife's life is over. She has to get divorced from the second guy. She has to get divorced from the first guy. So what does she know? She knows that he's dead. Therefore, she's coming and testifying that he's alive. So we should trust her that he's alive. We should, maybe we should trust her that he's dead. That's the Gemara saying. If I care to what she's saying, whatever she says, she wants her tsar to be in trouble. That's it. So why is she saying he's not dead, that he didn't die? She wants Bezin to believe her that he's not dead, and if he's not dead, her co-wife can't get married. But wait a minute. If her co-wife can't get married, guess who else can't get married? She can't get married. So she shot herself in the foot to get her co-wife. Says the Gemara, crazy aside. The Tamos nafsha im plishtim ka'amra. I think that she's trying to act like Shimshon HaGibor. Here, I usually don't like to show biblical figures and their faces, but the other pictures that they had over there, he wasn't wearing a shirt, whatever. Okay, this is not what he looked like. But this is the story. The story is that Shimshon HaGibor, when they caught him finally, they tied him to the two beams of the great arena. And in the arena were all the greats of the Plishtim. They were all sitting there, all the generals, everybody. And he said to Hashem, give me one last chance. Let me die, but let me die with everybody. Thomas Nafshi and Plishtim. I'll die, let me kill everybody. I don't care if I die with them. Turns out, the Yerushalmi says that when they recovered his body, he was on top of the pile. So everybody got nervous that maybe he survived. The Plishtim didn't touch Klal Yisrael for 20 years. They were nervous for 20 years because of what happened. But the Gemara says that it's possible, if we think about it. I always had this fascination about why would people kill? If you kill somebody, you go to jail for 50 years. But this is the Yisai. I don't care if I go to jail for 50 years. I want you dead. I hate you so much that my life is over also. Tamos nafshi and plishim, that's every murderer has this idea of Tamos Nafshi and Plishtim. The Ben Ish Chai brings a story. It's now in terms of sinna. You know what? Let me tell you about. Maybe I'll say it later. But the Mesilas Yesharim. Mesilas Yesharim says incredible story. So at least the mashal. He says a king saw that there were two people that hated each other. So he called one of them. He said, "Listen, you can have whatever you want in my kingdom, anything you want, but on condition I'm going to give your enemy double." So think about it. He could have $100 million right now. All his problems solved, or a lot of his monetary problems solved. And the guy is thinking to himself, but if I get 100, that means he's going to get 200, and he's going to be wealthier than me, my biggest enemy. You know what he told the king? He said, "Poke one of my eyes out." That's sinna. That's Tamos Nafshi and Plishtim. I'd rather have one eye poked out and make sure that my enemy has both of his eyes poked out. And talking about sinna, the Ben Ish Chai says there was two sisters that fought their entire life. They had a major fight. One of them was on her deathbed, so she decided she's going to make peace. She called the sister. She goes, I'm dying. I'm on my last days over here. Why don't you come and say hello, say we'll make up. So the sister came, and she walks into the room, and she says, come, I want to tell you something. Come. So the sister comes and leans over, and she whispers in her ear. And as she whispers in her ear, she took a bite out of her ear. Part of her ear went missing, and she leaned back, and she died with a smile. So that's sinna, says the Ben Ish Chai. To your own sister. All right, but there is a musik like that. Tamos Nafshi in Plishtim. Says the Gemara. So now I just pointed it out to make it easier when we're reading the Mishnah. When they argue on how he died, Rameir says, wait a minute, there's a contradiction. How he died. So we can't trust them for anything. Neither of them can get married. But what about the first case of the Mishnah? When one says he's dead and one says he's alive, shouldn't Rameir jump in and say, wait a minute, we don't trust him at all? Rameir does say in the Reisha the same thing. But we have a machlokes here. The Reisha is Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, and the Seifa is Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. Fine. So it's machlokes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, we trust the woman who says her husband is dead. We don't, and we trust the other one that he's not dead, so therefore she doesn't get married. And according to Rabbi Meir, we can't trust either of them. No, we could say that the Reisha goes according to Rameir as well. But how feel Rameir? So how come it doesn't say that Rameir argues in the case where they argue between each other if he's dead or alive? No, they call when a woman comes and says he's not dead, we don't trust her at all. In other words, when two women come forward and they say, the first woman says, our husband died. He died from a bullet shot to the head. So what is she saying? She's saying, I can get married. I don't have a husband anymore. Exactly the circumstances of his death, bullet. Okay. Now we listen to the second one. The second woman comes in. She says, he died from a terrible disease. What is she saying? She's saying, I could get married. She's not trying to get her sister, her co-wife. She's just trying to help herself. They both have a very selfish agenda. They want to get married. That's it. Now, they happen to contradict each other how he died. Okay. So for that, we'll trust them. Says Rameir, since they're not in it against each other, fine. But in the case where one says he's still alive, Wait a minute. Now her testimony is not for herself. Her testimony is just to get her co-wife. And if that's the case, we're not going to trust her. You hear? Big nafkamino. The kol loy meis, when she says he's not dead, we're not going to trust her because she's not in it for herself. She's in it to get her co-wife. Then we don't trust her. When you're in it for yourself, that's something else. Tanan, eidoimer meis, eidoimer loy meis. In the end of the Mishnah, the last case, there's a contradiction between witnesses. Ishoimer meis, ishoimer loy meis. Harezi loy tenasa, she shouldn't get married. Bishlam ila Rebbe Lazar, stomach Rebbe Meir. According to Rebbe Lazar, we could say, okay, I know who this goes according to. It goes according to Rebbe Meir. El Rebbe Yochanan, Kashya. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, that Rabbi Meir doesn't argue, so who does it go according to? Kashi. Says the Mishnah. Official Mishnah, sponsored leading Mishnah, Rabbi Meir Yechiel ben Rabbi Avram. Again, couples vacationing overseas. Ubav Amra Meis Bali, Tinasav Titel Tsubasa, no Chiddush yet. My husband died. She could get married. We trust her. We always say this all these dapping we're learning, we trust a woman when it comes that her husband is dead. And not only that, she could get a ksuba. However, Vitzaras Asura, that we also mentioned earlier, her testimony doesn't help. She can't testify for the co-wife. She only testifies for herself. What if the tzara is married to the kohen? The guy's a kohen, but she is Israelis and she eats truma based on her husband. Now we have a big dilemma. Listen to this. This is a halachic dilemma. How could it be? On the one hand, you're saying that Rachel can get married to anybody she wants because, according to Rachel, her husband is dead. On the other hand, you're saying Leah could eat truma. The Iraisa, she's eating truma because her husband is alive. Which one is it? Is the husband alive or dead? If he's alive and she's eating truma, so this one can't get married. If he's dead because he trusts her, then how can she eat truma? Forget about each person. Together, there's a contradiction here in halacha and mitzias. Nevertheless, the Mishnah says, go ahead and eat truma. This is a big problem. Somebody, she's going to be eating truma, possibly ba'aveira. This one might be Eishes. This one might not be married to a kohen. So therefore, nobody can get married, nobody can eat truma. If she says, first my husband died, and then my father-in-law died. In other words, she's testifying about her mother-in-law. And now we said yesterday, mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws don't get along, so she has no right to testify about her mother-in-law. Tinase, we trust her about part of her testimony that her husband is dead. And she could get her ksuba, but the testimony regarding the mother-in-law, we don't trust. Rabbi Isai, one more mother-in-law joke, and this one is a good one. So, there was a funeral, the mother-in-law died, and they put the coffin on the back of the carriage, the horse and the buggy, and the son-in-law and the relatives are on the wagon, and they're going towards the funeral. Get close to the cemetery, and the wagon driver takes a very sharp right turn, and the coffin flips right off the wagon. The coffin opens up. Can't believe it. The mother-in-law jumps up and walks away. They couldn't believe it. So, Chiyas HaMeson. Okay. Mother-in-law continues. Later on, 2 years later, the mother-in-law dies. The funeral. Getting close to the cemetery. They get close to that place, that turn. All of a sudden, the son-in-law starts screaming, "Driver, watch the turn! Watch the turn!" Okay. Weiter. Where are we? Yeah. So now we're with the mother-in-law. So everybody on Shabbos came over to me and said, I understand all your mother-in-law jokes. You have the best mother-in-law in the world. It's true. Anybody knows Susie Friedman, everybody knows, the sweetest woman in the world. And I was reflecting, I told my father-in-law today, I said, it took me to have a son-in-law to understand what kind of gvura you had not to open your mouth all those years. He never told me anything. I told him one day, hey, I'm moving to Israel with your grandchildren, with your daughter. He should have punched me right in the face. Something. He should have, whoa, maybe, it should be batzlacha. Nothing. That's just one example I could say on, Barabim. There's many other examples where he could have killed me and he just ignored the whole thing. But I only realized that once you have a son-in-law, you realize, once you have a child, you realize what it means to be a father, that kind of thing. I told him today, not the greatest in-laws. Baruch Hashem. But that's why I'm allowed to make fun. That's why I make fun of my wife and I make fun of myself. So you could do that kind of stuff when it's all jokes and games. And my mother-in-law doesn't watch the shir, so it doesn't really matter. Says the Gemara. Now, if the mother-in-law is married to a kohen, she continues eating truma. Same thing as we had in the Reisha. What is the difference? Somebody's going to be over Avera here. You have to be chayshish. Maybe the daughter-in-law is right. Maybe the daughter-in-law is not lying, and the father-in-law actually died. So the father-in-law died. You should not be eating truma. Says the Gemara Tzricha. Why do I need two cases? One about a sister-in-law, a co-wife, testifying about a husband. Do we trust her for the other co-wife? And about a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law. It's the same thing. Rabbi Kiva said in both cases, with the same argument, Tarfin said, we trust her for herself, we don't trust her for this. Rabbi Kiva says, listen, since it's possible you might be eating truma, don't eat truma. And since you might be with the Ish, don't do it. But it's the same case, no? It's the same idea. Says Gemara, if I only said the case of co-wives, the Gemara says an incredible thing here. The reason why co-wives hate each other so much is because they have physical pain, or a physical tsar, I should say. Meaning, they're fighting over their husband. The husband is 50%, let's call it, with this one 50%. So they feel it on themselves. It's a physical thing. But what's the problem with the mother-in-law? The tsar milei da alma. It's just words. I don't know if they still say it. When I was a kid, they said sticks and stones could break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Which is shtus and bavom, right? Because sticks and stones could break bones and it'll heal. Words actually last forever. Okay, fine. But that's what milei da alma. Maybe they stopped saying it. Maybe there's a. I haven't heard it in a long time. They don't. It's shtusen. Okay, great. The tsar milei da alma. The mother said a few words. It's not a physical thing like a co-wife. Ema moidele Kiva. Maybe since they're not in such a fight, maybe she's still saying the truth, so we can trust her. And if it's said only by a mother-in-law, because he doesn't really hate her, that's why Rabbi Kiva says we should trust her. But the case of co-wives, that they hate each other, so we can't trust anything she says. Don't trust her, and therefore she could eat truma. Therefore she could get married to someone else. The Allah is like that we trust the women. We also learn in the Mishnah. We're going to have it today in the Mishnah. If a woman says, I had a son b'medinas hayam, and meis b'ni, so what happens? She goes to overseas, she goes without a kid. Without a kid means that if her husband dies, and he's dying childless, therefore, yechayev, shalom aleichem, look at this kid, he has a sweat, get over here for a second. Shalom aleichem, yeah, come around this way. I just noticed something very interesting. What's your name? Shalom aleichem. Levi? You got it, Levi's son? How'd you get here? Wow, look at this. Show everybody. This is Tomer Levi's nephew. Wow. Gevaldik. Nice to meet you. The back, come here, get it. You got the real deal? Okay, turn around to everybody. Whoa. Oh, this way. Geschmack to do the daf. And now this way. Gewaldig. Okay. Send regards. Where's your father? How come he didn't come? He sends you instead. Okay. You know Tomer is coming to America this week. You're going to see him? Wow. Anybody else going to see him from Chicago?
Yeah.
You're going from Zalman. You're going? But you're from New York. Who else? You're going to see him.
Absolutely.
Wow. You guys have tickets already? Over 1,000 tickets sold, pushing probably like 1,200 already. There's going to be big news tomorrow about the Siyum. An announcement to be made. I don't want to give it away now, but there's a big announcement. I hope nobody heard, but yeah. Says a better one. Yeah, okay. I'm not supposed to talk about it until tomorrow. Where are we? Okay. So, when a woman goes overseas and she doesn't have a child, she's going becheskas that she would stand liyibum. She doesn't have a kid. Now she claims, we have to trust her, she claims, I have a son. I had a son, and therefore, what does the son cause? No yibum. But, you know what happened? Meis beni, my son died. So she went from being chayiv to yibum, to being potter to yibum, because she had a kid, to being chayiv again. So she didn't accomplish anything. She left chayiv, she came back based on her testimony. That's what we call apesha asar, apesha iter. She said that she's not chayiv in yibum, then she said she's chayiv. Kids are garnished. Right now, it's a white, it's a wash. But if she says my husband died first, and then my son, and we know the halacha that when the husband died, he had a kid even for one moment, there's no chiyuv of yibum. Ein nemenes. She wants to pater herself from yibum. Now, when a woman says, I could get married to somebody else, we trust her. But when she says, I'm not chayiv yibum, we don't trust her. Let her get chalitza, let her get yibum, whatever it is, we don't trust her. Because the point is, we don't want a woman to be naguna, to stay unmarried. But here she has a husband. We can't trust that her husband, or that she had a kid, didn't have a kid. But we have to be concerned for her words. And she gets chalitza, but no yibum. Says the Gemara, here we have a raya that we don't trust a co-wife. We trust her for herself, but not the co-wife. Shmamino. The official Mishnah is sponsored Lili Nishmas Remeir Yechiel ben Reb Avram Zechron Levracha Daf Kufyut Ches Amud Beis. And Daf Kufyut Ches Amud Beis is sponsored by Moshie Horn in honor of Rabbi Tzvi Medetsky, the only Rebbe that was actually good at basketball. Sponsored by Nesano, Latzlucha Ruchni, and Gashmi from Murad Nakash for introducing me to MDY. Says the Mishnah, Kiddush achas mechomish nashim ve'en yodea is a kiddush. So I want to show you real quickly on the screen here. The two things on top, there's green and there's red. Green is good, red is bad. A man says, I gave Kiddushin to one of the 5 women. Here, there's a little bit of a picture. I tried to do something tonight. The one on the left. 5 women, you have the Burka lady, 5 towns, just to reunite everybody before we say goodbye to them for a while. And then we have a case also in the Mishnah of a guy who says, I stole from 5 men, stole from 5 people. What do? It's the same kind of idea. Now, there's Kiddushin with giving money. The first Mishnah in Kiddushin. How do you Mekadosh a woman? Kesef, shtar, bia. Bia is not such a good thing. The Rabbanan said you shouldn't do it like that. You should do it with Kiddushin. Now, when it comes to stealing is a very bad thing. But taking reminds me now of a Maisa. If you speak Yiddish, it's a lot better. There's a guy, the Rebbe told him, why did you steal? He says, Rebbe, I took it, I didn't steal. But that's not what we're talking about over here. We're talking about taking. In other words, you go into the store, you say, hey, I see it all the time. A guy goes, I was in the barber shop. Oh, I forgot my money. They do it all the time, the younger guys. I'll bring it later. He didn't steal. He intends on paying, but he forgot to pay. He goes into the store and he says, let me just take some cookish cake. I'll bring some money tomorrow, and then he forgets about it. It happens all the time. That's not stealing, because when he took it, and he took it b'rshus, he's supposed to pay. So when it says kiddushin, what's the other story going to be together with the kiddushin? Taking. What are the two bad ones in this case? A guy was boil. He had bio with one of the 5 women, he forgot which one, or he stole. But when the Mishnah gives us the two cases, it takes one from the green and one from the red, in black. It says kiddush, but the counter one should be lakach. It doesn't say lakach. It says gazel. Okay. We're going to see there's a mandamah that says no. In fact, it's talking about kiddush and lakach, and we have Reb Tarfon that says bal and gazel. It's the red, and one mandamah says no, it's the green. But our Mishnah says 1 and 1. Okay, it's not that complicated. It's just a very cool story. It's just how bad was his action. Says the Mishnah, Kiddush achas b'chomish nashim. He gave Eris and he gave a diamond to one of the 5 women, and all 5 want to be married to him. They all come. He's a celebrity or something, and they all want to be married to him. He says, I don't remember. You all look the same. I don't remember why I was in Kaddish. Each one says, you, I'm the one. So what do you do? He has to divorce 5 of them. However, if there was a ksuba for whatever reason, he promised a ksuba even though it was erison. He puts it in the middle and he runs away. Let them fight over it. Some say he puts it in bezin, whatever you do, but he absolves himself from the schiyuv. Again, same kind of lesson like we had on Amud Aleph. That's not the way you get out of it. Actually, you didn't get the ksuba. You don't know you got engaged to, so pay. Give each one a full ksuba. Same kind of idea. Gazal echot mechamisha. Now, like I mentioned before, instead of gzela, what should have it said? Since it said kiddush, it didn't say baal, so it's using the finer one of the two from the green. So it should have, the counter one to that should have been lakach, he took. But no, the Mishnah is going into an extreme case. Gazal echot mechamisha. He stole from one of 5. Ben Soraya means gazal. Right? Reb Nachman Seltzer has a whole book about, who was it? The famous guy that there was Makar people. When he came about Tshuva, he had to go and he stole from a lot of people. And he describes in the book how he gave back every single thing. That he stole some oranges from a guy, bricks from another guy. He had to find them and locate them. It took them 5 years, I think, to pay people back, to figure out who he stole the bricks from. He had to go to the city and who did construction in that year. Oh my, fine. He stole from 5 people. Right? If you steal from people, you steal from a tzibur, you don't want to pay back. They say you should pay the city. You pay for sidewalks, things that somebody said once. You guys don't know. In our shul and shul between Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv, because they want to daven Ma'ariv after the Zman, so you don't have to say Kriya Shema. By the way, last night the Gabbai, he knocks on the table. Everybody remember to say Kriya Shema. I went on a bunch of people. I said, how many times have you remembered to say Kriya Shema at home? The guy says, never. Never. When you daven early, it's a problem in America. Fine. But a guy said as a joke, he said, listen, if you stole from the Olam, the way to pay back is to give a drasha between Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv. If you stole, sorry, I ruined the joke. If you gezel sheina from a tzibur, if you woke up a bunch of people, then you give a drasha between Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv. I ruined the punchline, but here it is. Great. Says the Gemara. You put down the gzela and you run away. That's not the way to do it. Says the Gemara. Now, I already said this whole Gemara about peh, and here it is inside. Kiddush katani, bali katani. If you notice, it doesn't use the one from the red. It uses the nicer thing. He gave kiddushin. It's not us to give kiddushin to a woman. Baal, to be kind of a biyot, that's a problem. Gaza katani. Oh, that's a big problem to steal. So I took one from the red. Lokach loy katani. The easy one, the thing that's mutter to take and ask the guy permission to take something and I'll pay you back later, it doesn't say that. It doesn't go according to anybody. What's the Tanakama? What's Reb Shimon ben Elazar? Oh, I think instead of Reb Tarfon it should be Reb Shimon ben Elazar. My mistake on the red. I gotta fix that somehow. Not now. The Sanya Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer. So Reb Tarfon says the case is the worst. All the 2 reds, the Baal and Gazal. That's what Reb Shimon ben Elazar says. Again, it's the case is Baal, not Kiddush, not like our Mishnah. Again, it's not when he took, it's the two reds, it's Gazal, just like in our Mishnah. That part is good with our Mishnah. The first part is not. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Elazar says, I have to erase. Retirement put Rabbi Shimon Elazar, Machlokes is on the red. It's not enough. You have to pay everybody. Now, the Gemara says there's somebody that argues on this, and that's the one in green. On the small box, if I do, here, no, okay, whatever. You see this guy right over here. That's what we're going to be saying now. Sorry, he's saying, Reb Shimon Elazar says the machlokes is in the red box, not in the green. So the Tanakama says the machlokes is in the green box. The problem is money. Who's our Mishnah going like? Our Mishnah is not green box and not red box. It's one from the green, one from the red, the black and the green and the black and the red. It's Kiddush and Gazal. It doesn't match any of the boxes on the bottom. If Rabbi Shimon and Elazar are listening Baal and Gazal, it should say the two really bad ones. And fine. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon and Elazar, it is the two bad ones, Baal and Gazal. So then why does our Mishnah say Kiddush? You know what? Kiddush means Baal. My Kiddush Bebiyah, is Mekadosh Bebiyah. Tana, now the Gemara says, so then why did I say two cases? We're saying our Mishnah goes that he's Baal and Geisel. It's the same thing, right? Rabbi Kiva says, you drop the ksuva in front of 5 women, you run away. You drop your sack of money that you stole and run away. Why do you need two cases? Says the Gemara, Tana Kiddush Leidiach HaKoich Rabbi Kiva, the Afagav, the Yisur, the Rabbanon of it, it's not a big deal. He did a little bit of an Isser, not a big Isser. Kanas. Nevertheless, he said you have to pay every single person. Tana Gezel, right? Again, if a person was Mekadosh a woman Bebiyah, it's not the end of the world. It's one of the 3 ways to be Mekadosh. It's a Mishnah. But Chacham said, don't do it. If you do it, I'm going to give you a penalty, and you have to pay all 5 women a ksuba. Tana Gezel, and Gezel, which is the Issa Deraisa, is to teach us the power of Rabbi Tarfon's Shita, Dafagav the Isur Deraisa Avad, even though he did a big Isser, he stole. You put the money down in the middle and you run away. Loikanis. Says the Mishnah, sponsored Leilu Nishmas, Remei Chilo Ben, Reb Avram Zechron Levracha. Rodoilam in Eretz Yisrael. We're almost done. Start putting on your tefillin. We'll be there soon. We had this Mishnah before. We know a lot about it just a few minutes ago. A woman went overseas with a son. In other words, she's not chayv yibum, because even if her husband dies, she has a son. She's pater from yibum. Ubas v'amar meis bali. My husband died. V'achgach meis b'ni. I'm pater from yibum. You know why? Because my husband was alive. When he died, he had a son. Nemenes, because she left pater from yibum, and her testimony corroborates that fact that we know, that she was pater from yibum because she left with a son. Meis b'ni. But if she changes the facts that we know, she says, my son died first, and therefore I'm chayving yibum v'achgach meis bali. Menes. Now she wants to be with her brother-in-law. Maybe she likes her brother-in-law. You can't trust her. However, she needs some sort of repair, some tikkun. So we tell the brother-in-law, give her chalitza. I left without a child, but now you should know I was there long enough, and we're actually going to have a whole thing tomorrow that it makes sense. Most women get pregnant later on. Okay, so she's saying, I had a child, and therefore I'm pater from yibum. But that son didn't help me out because he died before my husband. So when my husband died, I was chayving yibum. Nemenes, she didn't change the facts that we know. However, if she's trying to change something, my husband died, and then my son, so I'm pater from yibum. Because when she left, she was chayving yibum. She wants to change it to pater yibum. We don't trust her. However, we have to be concerned from her words. She does chalitza. You should know when we left to Chutz La'aretz, if my husband would have died, he had no brothers. So I was put from Yibum. But now there's a little guy, there's a little brother-in-law. I'm chayving Yibum now. If she says my husband died first, and now I have a Yavam, and I'm chayving Yibum, now she's believed. All three of them went, the brother-in-law, everybody. My husband died first, and then my Yavam, now she wants to be chayving Yibum, she's not Nema. She's not believed to say something about her brother-in-law, that she could get married. Here's the pasuk. We said it so many times during this. It's kedai to see it again. You're not allowed to marry two sisters when they're both alive. But once one of the sisters dies, then you can marry her sister. So comes the woman and says, my sister died. You can marry me now. She goes to her brother-in-law, who's married to her sister. She says, I know for a fact my sister died. Now marry me. She's not believed. And a person is not believed to say, my brother died, so now you're my Yevama. And he can't testify about his own wife, so he can marry the wife's sister. She's Achaysa. Beautiful sugya. The halacha is, I can make a shliach to be kinda $1 million for you. Why? Because you want it. If you knew that he's going to be kinda the $1 million for you, you'd say, of course, be my shliach. What about a get? Could I make you a shliach to receive a get for my wife? The answer is no. Because it's the opposite of $1 million. It's a chayv. You need her permission. But what if the get is a good thing? How's it a good thing? There's just a story in Tzvat 8 years ago. A guy was on his deathbed in a hospital, and they realized, wait a minute, the wife is going to be chayv yibum chalitza. So he told somebody, be Moshe Sorscher 8 years ago, be my shliach, receive this get from my wife. But you can't receive a get for your wife. But in this case, you could, because I'm saving her from chalitza. The whole Eretz Yisrael is flipped over sideways. What are you going to do with this woman? It's not a good get. It is a good get. Fine. But that's what happened there. As the Gemara by Rav Nachman, in order to be mezaka, the Yavam is a disgusting creature. Everybody hates that Yavam. I don't want my wife to fall to Yibam, to my crazy brother. So I'm mezaka. She's not around. She's in a different country. I tell somebody, here, be zoicha, right? I said more than $1 million. I'm saving her life. Since she hates him, it's a great zechus. And I could do this. No, sometimes a sister-in-law loves a brother-in-law. Maybe it's a bad thing for her. You can't do it. I'll prove it to you from the Mishnah. It says in both cases, whether she's trying to have Yibum, and whether she's trying to get out of Yibum, we don't trust her, we do trust her, we say we're chayshish. In both cases, why? Because it goes in both ways. Either it's good for her or it's bad for her. We don't know. Sometimes to be misyavim is good. She likes the brother-in-law, sometimes she hates him. So Mela, you see, so just give her chalitza and shalom Yisrael. Only Ravina. Accept the get, but give her chalitza. Only Ravina Rava, Mizaki get lishtay b'mokim k'tatamau. What if they hate each other? There's a big fight. Right now, the husband and wife are fighting. It happens in the best marriages. They fight. It's a normal thing. They say, oh, if you don't fight, something's wrong with you. Great. So they're in the middle of the fight. Now, in the middle of the fight, they want to get divorced. Of course, then they make shalom and everything is nothing ever happened. So in that point, when there's a big fight, for that moment, it's great for her. She wants you to make a shliach for her. It's better for a woman just to be married. Without being married, it's terrible. Tashma. Now the Gemara brings 4 different reasons why a woman wants to get married, be married. The famous line, it's better to be 2 people than to be 1, no matter what the case is. We say it even in a crazy case of ugly guy, what do you call it, tzurua, whatever. Fine. So even she'd rather be with the Yavam than to be by herself. And so we're almost done. 1 minute. Abai over the Shimshon or Gavra, even if her husband is extremely short. I have a picture. No, not of a short guy, but just a guy is as short as an ant, says the Gemara. He's really short like an ant. She sits with the noble women. She's chashev. I'm married, married. Doesn't matter how tall the guy is physically. So now we spoke about being married, and then you have, even if her husband has a physical defect, rather be married. Stam, real quickly, the Ben Soraya says, there's smaller things than an ant. You could say a flea. Why an ant? Because an ant has chachma. An ant, we say, Lock and Lebovic, you can learn things from an ant. So, even though he's short in stature, but he brings chachma. Even though her husband has a terrible job, he's a garbage man, or he what he does is he works in wool. In those days, it's a terrible job. It doesn't matter. If she sits out on the stoop with him and she schmoozes, she shows off, she's married. Ravashi Omar, they call Segavra, even Bizman Hazeh. Imagine being a rabbi not being married. Imagine being a principal. They have a principal, I know there's a principal not married, but imagine being a Magachir, Daf Yomi Magachir, not being married. It's certain things, you have to be married. So it's good to have a name, I'm married. I don't care who. Nobody looks. The guy's 2 feet tall. He works in wool. I'm married. Now I could be a Rav in a shul. Rashi Omar, the Kulsa Gavra, even if he has some sort of blemish in his yichos, it's good. You know why? Because when he has a blemish in his yichos, he's not going to complain about anything. You can make him